So my agency does around 80 grand a month, and I only work 3 to 4 hours a day on it, Monday to Friday. And that's not because I'm lazy or anything like that. It's purely because I've learned the game isn't really about doing more here. It's all about just being more, all right? And once you understand literally everything I'm gonna mention in this video, literally everything will change for you, my bro. Like, I went from being stuck for 8-9 months, not signing a single client, to basically in 3 weeks after that, I made 20k cash collected, okay? And now I consistently do over 80k a month with my agency. A little over 70k of that is in profit, just so you know. So the thing is that a lot of people, and including myself, feel guilty about not working enough and not doing enough, all right? Not doing more. You hear online and you see on social media that so many people are doing, 14, 16 hours a day, like you just gotta lock in a fucking grind, bro, like do all this shit, right? And when you're gonna do that yourself, you sit down and you basically just start doing Instagram reels, right? And then you feel guilty. The thing you have to realize is that that guilt doesn't come from you being lazy about not doing the work, okay? It purely comes from misalignment, okay? You're literally trying to take new identity actions from your old self-image. And that never works, because your subconscious will always pull you back to what feels safe and familiar, okay? Like, think about it. You start going to the gym after years of doing nothing, right? Procrastinating. And then you tell yourself, like, this time, like, I'm fucking serious, I'm gonna lock in the gym, like all this stuff. You buy all this shit, right? And deep down, you still see yourself as the guy who skips workouts and eats McDonald's, right? So when it's actually time to go and work out, you feel resistance, right? You feel that resistance in your body and you don't feel like doing it, and suddenly you feel like shit and you're feeling that guilt, Like, you have to realize, like, it's not from you being lazy or, undisciplined or anything like that, or lacking motivation. It's purely your subconscious mind trying to keep you congruent with who it still believes you are, okay? Let me say that again. It's purely your subconscious mind trying to keep you congruent with who it still believes you are, okay? And the same goes to business, right? You say you want 50 grand months, but your self-image is still the 10 grand a month version of you, right? The image you have of yourself subconsciously is that 10k a month version of you. So every time you sit down to do the work, the old identity fights for control, right? You procrastinate, you overthink, you fucking doom scroll Instagram reels. It's basically self-sabotage, But for the subconscious mind, it's basically self-protection, right? Because it's basically protecting itself from you not going in an area that feels unsafe, right? So when you try to take actions to try to get to 50k a month, for example, your internal is basically misaligned, right? You're not embodying that guy internally, right? And when you're not embodying that guy internally, like you don't internally believe that you are there right now, then obviously your subconscious will do anything it can to basically block you from getting there, right? Because it blocks you from what doesn't feel safe, right? Which is that 50k a month, right? And that's why, like, you have to change the internal view of yourself to being that 50k a month version of yourself right now, and then acting in alignment becomes like a flow, right? But for example, when you're forcing and trying to get to 50k a month, you're basically trying to become someone you haven't fully embodied yet internally. And so the way you step into being in a flow, that basically happens when your state and your identity are aligned, okay? You've already decided that I am that 50k a month guy right now. And from that moment, the actions aren't going to be a grind. It's purely just going to be flowing, right? They're just a reflection. You basically stop chasing, you stop begging time to move faster, and you just start being that guy right now. So that once you align that internal with the external, like, I'm sure you already have the external in place, right? You're doing actions that, is going to reflect that 50k a month self, right? But the thing that's blocking you is purely just your internal, right? Because you're not aligned internally and feel safe at being at 50k a month, right? Your nervous system doesn't feel safe, and anything that the nervous system doesn't feel safe moving towards, it will subconsciously block you, okay? And that's why you feel guilty, and that's why you feel like shit. I personally only work 3 to 4 hours a day, right? And anything more than that feels like a nightmare, because the whole point of this game is freedom, right? That's what we're all after, right? So why would I build a business that's just gonna chain me down and work 16 hours a day, right? Like, who wants that, So what I do instead of working 16 hours a day and so on is that I spend most of my days just thinking, right? Walking, sitting in silence, without any doom scrolling Instagram reels, anything like that. Because when I just sit in silence and think for myself, I see the moves before I make them, right? I visualize the outcomes, I see the steps I have to take, I see the systems I need to build, and I gain such clarity within my mind so that when I'm actually gonna do the actions, it's all flowing, It's not pushing or forcing or anything like that, it's just a flow. Like, how do you think Magnus Carlsen became the world's greatest chess player? He didn't do it by just moving chess pieces non-fucking stop without thinking, right? He did it by simply sitting and thinking, right? And that's why chess players win, because they spend most of their time in their minds, seeing the move 10 steps ahead before they even touch a piece, right? And that's exactly how I operate in business, right? Like, when I think, I see the next moves, right? And I already play them out in my head. So when I finally sit down to do the actual work, I'm not just sitting there guessing what I'm gonna do next. I'm just executing a game I've already won internally. And this type of thinking is called creative mode thinking. And most of you have definitely experienced this type of thinking when you're, for example, in the shower late at night and you get like this crazy good idea. And that's purely because you're just being, right? You're just standing there with yourself thinking, right? And that's where you get those insane downloads. And when you practice that multiple hours a day, trust me, you're gonna get some insane fucking downloads and insane ideas, my bro. And that's exactly why what I do in 4 hours is what others do in 16 hours. Because the real work happened in my state long before I even touched the keyboard. So the thing is, my bro, like, you don't need more hours grinding in front of the fucking keyboard, okay? You just need more clarity. And clarity is what you gain sitting by yourself and thinking, right? And that's why, like, thinking is what's gonna allow you to also bend reality, okay? Because there's only two things that you need to actually bend reality. And number one is that you basically need your state and internal world to be aligned with a new identity, okay? So you have to embody and believe that you're that guy right now, who is at 50K a month, right? And you need to hold that inner frequency of knowing it's done, that you are there right now, and completely letting go of the external, completely letting go of, the stripe numbers and all that fancy nonsense, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's already done within you. And when something is so done within you and completely normal, you don't keep repeating it in your mind that you are at 50K a month. You set another goal, right? And number two is that your actions have to be congruent with your new identity. And your actions right now are probably aligned with the new identity, which is why you sit down to do the work. You know exactly what you're going to do, right? You're going to create SOPs, you're going to hire this person to do that. But the thing that's blocking you is that your subconscious mind is not internally aligned with that version of you who's already at that goal that you want to hit, right? Which is the 50K a month. And that's pretty much it, right? Once you align your internal with the guy who's already at 50K a month, knowing it's done, not looking for proof 24/7 because your proof are within your actions, then every action you take from now on is just proof that you are that guy. Because the universe reads that proof and mirrors it back to you, right? Through opportunities, clients, relationship, money, all that stuff, right? That's basically the definition of congruence, right? You internally see yourself as the guy who's already at that level, and then you act congruently with that guy, right? But the reason why you feel guilty when you sit down to work, 16 hours a day right now is purely because your internal is not aligned with that goal you want to hit, which you're taking actions towards, right? So you have to basically become internally aligned and then take the actions and look at that as proof. So next time you feel guilty for not, doing more, you just have to remember that you're not lazy here. You're just misaligned. So the way you basically shift your state when you feel some sort of guilt is that you basically sit down and close your eyes and feel how that version of you would feel if you had that right now, right? So think of it like the gym, right? How would you generally feel if you already had your dream physique right now? That could be 85 kg, 10% body fat, right? You'd obviously feel super confident, proud, high energy, unstoppable, right? So when you visualize that, you're gonna feel a certain way, right? And you're gonna feel that version of you, and that's basically gonna allow you to bring the end feeling into the present moment. And that's the frequency, and that's literally the inner frequency that you have to hold 24/7, okay? That inner knowingness that you are that guy right now. And once you're in that state, once your body actually feels like it's actually done, that's when you should start acting in alignment and doing these actions, right? Because you basically bring the end feeling into the now, and so you feel like you are that guy right now, and then you basically just act accordingly, right? And view that as proof for you being that guy right now. And that's exactly how you stop chasing and start attracting, right? So yeah, boys, that's pretty much like how I work less, make way more money, and actually feel completely free by doing this, right? Because you have to realize as well, once you're internally aligned here, the actions you're gonna take are gonna feel effortless, right? It's not gonna be any like pain or pushing or forcing or anything like that anymore. It's purely just gonna be flow, pure flow state. It's gonna feel like natural, you know, it's not gonna be any sort of pain or anything like that. But for example, if you ever do feel some sort of pain or whatever, then what you simply do is that you just sit down, close your eyes, and think about, basically visualize how you would feel if you'd already completed that task right now. And that's basically how you shift your state at the present moment, right? Because you bring the end feeling, which is, you know, how you feel at being a 50K a month, into the now, which is basically that internal feeling that you have to hold, and then you start acting in alignment, right? And that's basically when reality is going to start bending in like a week or two, and you're going to basically watch everything unfold in front of your eyes. Okay, so hopefully that made sense, boys. And if you have any questions about this as well, just feel free to DM me on Instagram, and I'll reply back with a voice note. So yeah, boys, subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you boys soon. Peace.